Here at the Level Up Co., Kelley and I truly do believe that an elevated client experience from the very first touch point of that first email all the way through the delivery of your wedding films or those final galleries are all so important. And that's why Kelley and I both have been using and loving VidFlow for the last several years, and we recommend to all of our students and our audience members to use VidFlow as well. Delivery experience truly matters. The way your clients view their films for the very first time should be a magical moment. It needs to be a professional and branded experience, instead of basic file sharing like Dropbox or Google Drive, or even Vimeo or YouTube links. Through VidFlow, clients can stream their videos through smart TVs, streaming devices, and setup boxes. Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, you name it. There are so many options for clients to watch and experience their films for the very first time on the big screen at home. And VidFlow is now offering photo delivery as well. They now support photo delivery with their new hybrid galleries, which is a major benefit for hybrid shooters and combined photo and video teams. You can now deliver your beautiful photo galleries alongside your video galleries in one place. Level up your delivery experience for 2026 and beyond with VidFlow. You can get started today by going to vidflow.co/thelevelupco. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelley Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petrinovich, and I'm so excited to be bringing on my guest today, who is Micah Cook. Micah, hi.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited. This has been an amazing event, and I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on the podcast. For those who may not be familiar with you, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Micah. I'm a destination wedding photographer. I am based in North Carolina, but very rarely am there because we're typically flying around for work. So a little bit all over the country, on occasion outside, but it's just been a really neat journey. We've been doing weddings for between 6 and 7 years. And over that time, we've had some pretty exponential neat growth to work in a more luxury, ultra luxury space. So there's a lot we can talk about, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love that. So you're definitely known for TikTok, and we're going to get into that, but
Love it.
I actually kind of want to hear more about like the beginning of your journey. How did you get
Yeah.
into photography?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm only 27. So when I started my photography journey, it was more of a hobby, as I feel like a lot of photographers and videographers kind of fall into it. It actually started as a middle school art project. My teacher was like, great. I went to a small private Christian school. So we had a small little class, and they're like, all right, everyone find a camera, bring it, and we're going to go walk around and take photos. So my first camera was my iPod Touch that had a little camera on the background.
Nice.
And as we're walking around the property taking photos, I just started going at some really weird, funny angles. I was like, I didn't want to just be like, oh, here's a tree. Like I started like lean into stuff and understand perspective. And I was like, wait, something about this is fun. So the following years, I was just kind of the same thing on family vacations. I was just taking whatever camera I had. Basically, that was just kind of proceeding through high school when I had a friend's mom who's a therapist. They saw one of my photos and she's like, that's a really pretty, it was like palm trees or something from a vacation. Also, the horizon was like at a 2-degree angle. So she was like, I want a copy of that from my office. So she paid me like $200. She brought it to school, had me sign it. She's like, your name needs to be on this. And I was like, oh, I can also make money.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You got started and you like immediately sold an image. Like that's the coolest. I haven't heard that on the podcast before.
I actually didn't know I could do it. And obviously my work is like fully portrait work now and wedding work now. So there's no really nature shots apart from where I'm traveling and scenic shots. So it was just like a random shot I took. It was, again, super heavy with the blues and the oranges because it was like a sunset over the beach with palm trees. And yeah, she just wanted it. And she wanted to, I think, make me feel happy for something and gave me $200 for it, made me sign it. And to this day, she still has a 3x3 not painting, but photo of it. So that started. And then obviously it just takes 1 or 2 people to be like, oh, that means you must be so great at portrait work too.
Yeah.
So sure enough, that turned into senior sessions, family photos. And next thing we know, we were in college, and a small Christian college where couples were getting married at the age of 18, 19, 20.
Mhm.
So I was like, you know what? I want to start working with couples.
You have
So
a built-in clientele. I feel like that's starting to sound similar to a lot of people's journeys. Like
mhm.
they know you have a camera, they know you can do
Yep.
photography. Like, hey, can you do my wedding? How much did you charge for your first wedding? I love asking that question.
My first wedding was October 2019. It was like, I think it was either Halloween day or the day before Halloween or something. $300.
How
And it
much?
wasn't 300.
300?
And it wasn't even the client that booked me. It was the videographer who I was friends with. Um, and it was $300 for a mixed cultural wedding. So it was Pakistani and Christian. So it was a 14-hour workday by myself. Yep. Fun
Wow.
experience.
And so you shot that and you were like, I want to do more of this?
Something about it really got me. At that point, I had already had one or two other booked ones, but in terms of that was, we didn't know it yet, but obviously we're coming up on COVID, so stuff got postponed, all sorts of stuff. So this was my first actual wedding I photographed that brought on maybe like 2-3 months beforehand because the videographer is like, hey, they need someone, I can pay you $300. So that was kind of our first gig. And the following year, which was 2020, I think we took on about 11 or 12 weddings, and all of them were between $500 and $600. So we didn't learn fast up front, but it's also what we needed.
That's so cool. But it's also what we needed. Tell me
Yeah.
more about that.
It's what we needed because in there was a lot of experience, obviously. Of course, working at a lot of DIY. When you're charging $400 or $500 for photography, there's a good chance your overall wedding budget is still probably going to try to fall under that $10,000, maybe under that $20,000 mark, absolutely max, right? It's backyard. And again, this was going into COVID. So some of those other areas I learned, we didn't have like a set stable contract or know how to, all these terms and negotiations and everything. So when it came to COVID hitting, so many people just postpone later on. Unfortunately, while I know a lot of people suffer during COVID, if you were a COVID photography or wedding baby, you kind of were birthed. And with that came so many clients that were doing the backyard, still wanted a big thing down the road. And that's kind of what led us to having the 11, 12. We had one or two reschedule. Therefore, once I had already raised my prices, they were rescheduled, a year and a half later. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to say, sorry, we can't do, whatever the case was. So then there was a point where I had a $3,500 wedding, and then I had a wedding the following day that was, they only owed me like $250 left. So that's where we learned a lot in just terms of like some business management and all that.
I love it. Okay. So fast forward today.
Yes.
How is business looking? Like, what was 2025 like, and how is 2026 looking?
2025 was absolutely incredible. 2024 was kind of our light bulb year because I know we'll probably talk a little bit about TikTok and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which has done wonders. Lord has been so gracious with that, which is so neat. 2025 was incredible. We had about 15 weddings. I lose track because of how much we travel, and then on top of that, engagement sessions and stuff. But it was also the year we broke into our first 7-figure budget range with weddings. I think we had 3, it was at least 3, maybe 4 that fell in that or very, very close. And it was just neat to see that level of production, work with a bunch of different planners, see how they operate as well. 2026 is very different. And I think a lot of people kind of feeling that.
Yeah.
Some people, great. Some people, it's just a weird year. So at the moment, we have 5 brought on for this year with probably 20 pending inquiries for the second half of the year.
Wow.
So it kind of was nothing, and then it all just came flowing in. And I think that's one thing I've noticed growing into that luxury and ultra luxury space is you get last minute things, or 6 to 8 months, which some people consider last minute, is like my sweet spot. So entering this year being like, okay, we still have a good bit of room, but knowing stuff was coming in, it's just a big adjustment.
Yeah. So actually in 2024, I had a wedding book so last minute, like just speaking to like how at higher ends of the market, like it can really be like crazy. I got an inquiry on a Monday for the Saturday. I sent the contract over on Wednesday, and they didn't sign it and pay me until Friday, the day before the wedding. Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
I'm not saying that's like very normal. Like
no,
it's out of the norm,
that is quite legitimately last minute.
Yeah.
I say last minute in terms of like, oh, 4 months. Okay, cool. Like I obviously know photo and video sometimes have a different schedule there where there are videos, they decide, great, we actually do want it, and you're 2 months out.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, I'm sometimes very jealous of that. But also I know there's a little bit more, not risk, but just like proper planning and being according to what's needed. So
yeah. And that's one of the things that I think that a lot of photographers actually have a hard time transitioning with. As they raise their prices, they kind of panic.
Yeah.
So like, so right now, as we're recording, it's February of 2026. People are starting to already panic, like that we're seeing, like if they haven't started booking out 2027 yet. And it's like, well, it's because you raise your prices and your clients are not looking at that long of a lead time for planning their wedding. Like it just shifts.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot for people to kind of like realize that.
I think a lot of people think that that's the case, and a huge part that I really love to be able to, when I do coaching and mentoring with individuals, is getting out of that mindset of like, we have to book, we have to book, we have to book. And like, let's start understanding who we want to book and who we want to work with.
Yes.
Because then once you build your business in that direction, you start to understand, what are these couples looking for? How can I relate? And a big part of that is when you understand that maybe some of these couples, these big weddings, all the florals, like all these fun details we love and really crave, um, those are couples that aren't necessarily needing to book 2 years out. Some of them do. Some of them do because maybe they're in a field of getting their doctorate or becoming lawyers, right? And they're like, we're together. We know we're getting married. We're just waiting for these things to pass by. But I think a lot of people that book that far out, so then photographers get worried if they're not booking 2 years out, is because they're working with a smaller budget.
Yeah. They
And
need to
so
save up.
they want to save up, or like they want that venue that's not a barn.
Yeah.
And to find that venue, which there are plenty, you just have to search much further out because they get snatched up. It's like when a hurricane's coming and the grocery store sells out of toilet paper, whatever. That's kind of how the wedding market is with like cheaper, nice venues that are in that affordable range for couples.
Yeah. The Saturdays sell out quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not that we need to be worried if we're not selling 2027 right now. Like I just brought on my first 2027 wedding a week ago, and there's been several others I've kind of had to lay low on because I'm like, there's so much potential, so much that's coming in the next year that needs to play into what that schedule looks like too.
Yeah. Every booked date now is a no in the
Mhm.
future. So yeah, being
Yep.
really discerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a good example is like I had a very last minute inquiry come in for March. So less than a month away. And I had already had one couple that was kind of pending and like excited. They had a huge it was going to be a close to a $40,000 contract in Hawaii at the Four Seasons. Then it got switched to Pelican Hill down in Laguna, and price point came down a little less travel involved. And then just for some family reasons, they said, let's just do a big rager, a big fun thing in Miami. Um, and so we ended up, pivoting. And it was taking a while to kind of get through that process. And I had this other inquiry come in for the same date meantime.
Yeah.
And so I'm like having these two back to back and trying to figure out, like, I would love to serve both these couples and I can't. And sure enough, one morning I was like, what do I do? And I was like praying about it. I was like, immediately that Bahamas wedding, they had to go a different direction.
Yeah.
So then I immediately messaged Miami and said, we're good. And so we got it secured, and it's ideally going to lead to even some bigger potential. So you never know what's coming and what yes is a no here and in other ways.
Hey listeners, Kelley here. Taylor and I are so excited to be bringing a brand new free training to our listeners and entire audience. It is called Booking the Next Generation of Couples, and it's all geared towards what we're seeing in real time with the buying psychology and behaviors of Gen Z brides and grooms who are getting married this year, next year, and for the years to come. We want to ensure that you're not making the mistakes of marketing to yesterday's couple, and that you're setting yourself up for success over the next decade to be able to speak to really confidently, book, and be able to serve this next generation of clients really, really well. As photographers and filmmakers, it's so important that we continue to evolve in our business, and we are really excited that on July 29th, we're going to be opening up this new class. We'll be teaching live for 1 hour and teaching what we are seeing currently in the market and what you can do to change and fix your business for a really profitable 2027. Taylor and I hope to see you there. You can head over to thelevelupco.com/Gen Z to register, and we look forward to seeing you on July 29th.
I would love to talk about TikTok.
Let's do it.
Okay. What has been your experience so far on TikTok?
It has been absolutely incredible. And I think it's neat because with the coaching and the mentoring, this is probably one of the number one things we really, really dive into. My journey has with like social media, and I think video marketing is absolutely key. I think it's just key to grow at a quicker rate that you would do, because you don't want to just ride the industry wave. Like you need to get ahead of that wave so it continues to push you. And I think video marketing is a big thing there. So I found that TikTok is the very it's untapped when it comes to the wedding industry. Not that there's not wedding content and there's not bridal content. Of course, there's countless pieces of that. I'm more so talking about like vendors that are coming and being transparent and building trust and all sorts of stuff. So that's what I've learned over the past few years, is learning how do I get to talk about the things I would love to do? How do I showcase what I am currently doing and building that trust with my experience and everything for these couples? So I think we're quite literally like 20 people away at the moment from like 50,000 followers. I'm determined by the end of hybrid that I have it. But we're so close to having 50,000 followers. And I know that doesn't stand in comparison to a lot of other people that have hundreds, hundreds of thousands. But I think I have successfully found how to make like good, genuine content that people relate to. And even if they're now couples I'm not necessarily going to be working with directly, they're couples that I still hope I was able to assist in finding the right vendor or figuring out the timeline, all sorts of stuff. So it's been a really neat journey. And I mean, the past 2, 3 years, it's resulted in about 90% of our business directly or indirectly. So it's been crazy.
So, when you say you're using TikTok as a wedding photographer in order to get bookings directly and indirectly, what exactly does that mean?
So when I refer to directly, what I mean is I make a video and say, this is an idea I would love to encourage people to do, or this is a location I would love to work in. And you talk about it and you've done your research and you know how much does venue cost? What's the food and beverage? Do they require a planner? Who should be, like it's good to do the research. I definitely would just be like, here's a pretty venue. I want to work here. If you can give them a vision, great. Sometimes that leads to direct inquiries. People say, hey, I'm getting married here, or hey, we're thinking about this and I've seen your work before and I love it. That's a direct result. Indirect is where I see couples send my stuff to planners. And even if I don't get booked for that couple or that couple sends it to a friend and I don't get booked for that couple, it becomes word of mouth through chain of line and it turns into other follows and it turns into, hey, I didn't necessarily make a video that directly impacted them, but now I got to know this planner and I fostered this relationship for 2 years and got to know them. I tried sending a couple their way. We stayed in communication. And my example is I had one video that resulted in a relationship with the planner I have now. And we waited 2 years. We waited 2 years for our first wedding together. And when we got it, within the following week, we had another couple lock in, and both of those contracts they were like $26,000 contracts each. So it was like $52,000 in contracts within a week and a half of each other from this one video and 2 years of fostering this relationship.
That's
So it's
incredible.
compound growth.
Yes.
Like we think about compound interest, I think it's compound growth when it comes to the content we make. You're just building more followers, you're just building more content, you're building that trust with everyone.
That's incredible. Okay. What
Yeah.
kind of content do you feel like is serving you best right now on TikTok?
I kind of I think there's two kinds of content. Obviously, we see people that post photos and slides and stuff, and that can be educational, it can be beautiful, it can be very emotional. I really love to encourage at least people that are looking doing it. Like, how can we fit maybe 80 to 90% of our content being what I consider informative? So I consider there's vibey content, here's some BTS, and then when the bass drops, we're going to put our photos to it, or here's something super emotional and or very unique and different where there's no audio, there's no nothing, or no speaking at least. The informative is what I see. Let me come and tell you my experience. We have years in the industry together. One wedding gives us more experience than a couple planning for the first time, most likely. Every year we're in this, the more and more we learn. Every wedding we do, the more and more we learn.
Yeah.
Why do we not take this to this platform and tell them? Because again, whether it's you see a video of mine and you decide to hire me or not, we're in the same price point, whatever the case is, I've now ideally helped you learn. So I think there's vibey, I think there's informative. Vibey can be great for getting some viral content, but my goal for everyone I was just able to speak to, it's not to go viral. Viral is not going to equal the leads. I mean, it can if it brings in more people, and it can if it gets you a little bit more interaction and says, "Oh wow, okay, this verified person just followed me" or something. But ultimately, it's that genuine, authentic content that's like, "Hey, let me tell you why I think this works well, or let me tell you why this is different, or how we encourage our couples to visualize their wedding, or whatever the detail is."
Yeah. How many videos are you posting a day on TikTok?
Sometimes I don't post every day.
Okay.
I don't post every day.
Because the TikTok gurus say you got to post lots of times
I
every day.
I think there's a good balance between consistency and just having good, genuine content. Now, there's been a time where life gets so busy, I have to step away for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. And yes, that can result in kind of like a slow rollback, maybe not having something that goes quite as well. And so it's been neat to be able to share kind of my crash course and be like, hey, this is how to make good content. So when you do come back or when you do keep consistent, how do we hook them right off the bat? How can we be super informative and keep it a shorter video, build brand recognition, all these sort of things? And there's some times that even if I'm not posting a couple times a week, my goal would be probably like 4 or 5 videos a week. So I try to do at least a couple. But whether I do that or not, I've personally moved a lot into TikTok Live.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to talk about this yesterday. I wish I had. I need another like 3 hours. How long do we have for this? um, but it's been really neat because I've built that platform where sometimes we have 20 people on a TikTok Live. Sometimes it jumps up and we have 120 people on TikTok Live. And I get to just talk to them. And it's me sitting in front of my window with my little Octo Buddy. I don't know where my phone is. My little Octo Buddy stuck to the window, just the iPhone speaker. and maybe some music in the background. And I just say, I have a little green screen, and at the top it says, where are you getting married? Or tell us about your wedding. Where are you getting married? Whatever. It's not even be like, hey, I'm a wedding photographer. I have a photo of mine behind me. So as people come in and be like, hey, welcome, I give them a quick introduction. I'm Micah. It's nice, tell us about your wedding. Ask all your questions. I'm not a planner, but there's a lot of things I can answer. So anyways, TikTok Live's been the newest journey.
That's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of photographers, filmmakers, planners out there, like we love TikTok. It's so great, but it's kind of like the new kid on the block when it comes to social media. Instagram is obviously the OG.
Yeah.
How are we treating TikTok differently than Instagram? Are you posting the same thing in both places, or are you treating them differently?
I think this is because I'm not sponsored or paid or like have an affiliation with Instagram or TikTok. I don't fully know the deep down algorithms and statistics and how everyone works, right? There's employees and there's people that partner and be like, hey, here's an update that's coming, be aware. That's not me. So for me, it's all my personal experience and how I feel and what I've seen go for me. At least the brand and how I built it, Instagram has been my connection to vendor world and couples I am working with, and obviously maybe some of their close confidants and people that they've suggested me to. So I do have a network and I do receive work through Instagram. But to me, Instagram is how can I connect better and more with planners and video and other photographers. And TikTok to me is how can I connect with the wedding planning world in terms of couples and the bridal world and everything that is about planning. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Because that's where that's who I want to reach, and that's when I want to reach them too.
So you're curating the content for those two different types of audiences.
A good bit. I never really post anything directly to like a reel. I won't necessarily make a reel solely for Instagram. I don't really know the last time I did that. Anything I post on Instagram is traditionally or typically something I post on TikTok that I think, you know what, this is something that will do really well. Either it could be some of that vibey content I talked about that could just, I find Instagram sometimes does better with vibey content and TikTok does better with that informative content. Um, but another part is sometimes I'm like, okay, what's going to get the most shares from and maybe help my vendor partners the most? So, for instance, the other day I did a video that my Wi-Fi was down, so it never posted to TikTok, and it was my one frustration. I don't know why that happened, because it's normally a very easy app, but it still saved to my phone. So I was like, whatever, I'll just post on Instagram. So I have one video right now that's on Instagram that's not on TikTok, and I just wanted to be transparent with couples and say, hey, look, if you there's a lot of not pricing transparency issues people feel like, so they'll inquire with someone maybe out of their budget. Or just be curious what a budget is and be like, oh my gosh, I got quoted $30,000 by this photographer, or I got quoted $10,000 by this photographer, and it just kind of creates this negative train. So a big part of it was I want couples to know if you inquire with a vendor that might not be like astronomically out of your rate, right? Like if you're willing to spend 5-6 grand on a photographer, like that's what you want to do, and you inquire and hear back from someone at 30K, this isn't necessarily going to work. But if you're like 5-6K and someone's normally at 10, or you are okay spending 15 and someone comes back at 20, stuff like this, be open and transparent. Be open and transparent because I don't know what I don't know. So if you come back and be like, we appreciate it, thank you. To be fully transparent, this is where our budget is. This is what we're looking for. Completely understand if there's nothing can be done, but is there anything to get closer to this? I'm so much more willing and happy to have flexibility. It's not that I don't want to have that flexibility for couples that don't do this. I just simply don't know.
Yeah. I love this shift in this topic conversation because
Yeah.
normally I hear transparency with all of the pressure being on the vendor side. Like it's
Yes.
photographers, be transparent, planners, be transparent. But I love that you're kind of putting it back in the client's corner and
Yeah.
advocating for clients to be transparent on their end because it's so true. If you don't know the budget that you're working with or you don't know that there are constraints or whatever, then how can you possibly find a middle ground?
Oh, it's so true. And I'm like, what we hate to hear is we went in a different direction. I love to hear if that's truly where the couple felt like was best for them, because ultimately when I get on the call, I'm like, there's no confirmation in this. Even sometimes I'll have a call and they'll be like, okay, great, can you send stuff over? And I'm like, I love it. Email me that exact same thing in 2 minutes. I want you to get off this call, look at each other, and make sure this is how, because I want them to feel comfortable. So there's never any pressure there. But also, I don't know what I don't know. So there's strategy involved with social media too. Because, like, for instance, that video that didn't make it on TikTok but did make it on Instagram, I know it's client related, but I also know where vendors are going to love that. And maybe their clients need to hear it too.
Yeah.
So going to Instagram, I was like, okay, I know this is a safe space for all my vendors and photographers and everything. And sure enough, it resulted in a lot of shares and views and resulted in also some couples that weren't in the wedding industry or aren't vendors commenting. So I just want to encourage transparency on both ends because I'm like, there are some vendors that may not be as easy to work with. I fully understand that. There are some couples that aren't as easy to work at or work with. So I would love to be able to pair people together and be like, hey, look, let's find and curate a more transparent atmosphere.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I love that, Micah, so much. Okay, so shifting gears here a
Yeah.
little bit. You've been in the industry now for like 7 years,
Mhm.
and you're charging on average like 25,000. Is that right ish?
Yeah, our average contracts are about 28 to 30. We
Okay.
definitely have sent out proposals over. I'm waiting to hear back from one now. And we definitely have ones underneath because again, as I said, some of that flexibility.
Yeah.
I never want to be higher than now and say, sorry, everything has to be bigger and better. Like I still want to know the right couples to serve and the right people to get in with and understand how can I serve them. So yeah, we're about that 28, 30K range on average.
Hey, friends, really quickly, I'm going to interrupt this podcast episode because I just want to say we are so grateful to have you as listeners. Heading into our 2026 wedding season and into 2027 next year, we just know that so much is on the horizon for you. Because you're listening to this podcast, that means you are a really ambitious photographer or filmmaker, or maybe a content creator in the wedding industry who has sights set on the next level of business. The Luxury Mastermind program, which is our signature program here at the Level Up Co, is going to help you do just that. We have helped hundreds of wedding filmmakers and photographers elevate their businesses into that next level. A great example of this is Skylar Ball, who is a wedding filmmaker based in Tennessee, who was charging $3,500 per wedding when he joined our program, and now 18 months later, he's consistently booking at $12,000. We've had other students book their first five-figure wedding during our program, and we've had many students be able to double and triple their prices, which sounds crazy, but it's actually true, and we are so proud of them. If you are ready to see growth like that, if you're ready to get to that next level in business, book out your calendar year with weddings at a price point that you feel so proud of, and with weddings that are artistically fulfilling for you and that are just so fun to capture, we would love to welcome you inside our next round of the Luxury Mastermind. We are currently pre-enrolling seats before we officially launch, and students who pre-enroll get a bonus one-on-one coaching call with Kelley or myself, which is something we absolutely do for our students as a little thank you for signing up early. You can go to thelevelupco.com/mastermind to learn more about the program, see what's inside, and to pre-enroll. That should be linked in the description box down below if you're watching on YouTube, or linked in the description if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Kelley and I are so excited for our next cohort of the Luxury Mastermind, and we hope to see you in there so that we can guide you to that next level of business and beyond. Cool. So what do you feel like you implemented in your business, strategies that you experimented with that helped you with that growth path? Because
Yeah,
that's a really fast-paced growth.
it is. And I mean, I give God all the glory for that. It's been an amazing journey. It's been really, really fun. But I think, and here's the thing, apart from like one film photography class I did in college, um, I was all self-taught. So it was a mix of doing what I like, hearing from people, um, not necessarily any network. Like this is my first networking event, like in person, really that we're doing, but just friendships and communicating with people. There's a lot I learned in seeing what goes well, what doesn't do well. I think a big part of that is I'm business minded,
Mm-hmm.
but and I know with that I'm a good artist. So I think I put my business first over my art. Um, where there's some people that's like, hey, I'm good at art. And I'm like, why is my art not selling? I'm like, are you good at the business aspects behind it? Like customer service, you need to know your marketing. For prices to go up, so does your experience, so does your style. Your style has to change to relate to the couples you're working with or wanting to work with. All those things, what we saw in the presentation yesterday, there's so much related to your brand that has to elevate, not just your pricing. So I feel like it was very quick, but there was a lot of those elements I was able to grow very quickly. I didn't do my first little bit of actual education until a little over a year ago with Kelley. Um, it was a 12 call course, probably over 4 to 5 weeks, or sorry, months. Um, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I learned a lot. I saw his process, and I think learning other people's process to know what works well for them um, is a great thing. So we did that, but we just tried to build that experience in and talk to couples. And We just tried not to do little bumps in prices at a time. We wanted to adjust our style and we wanted to adjust things. And as supply demand came, and I said, great, we're getting booked, we're elevating it. So
That's
some, yeah,
amazing.
sometimes there was like a $1,500 price point jump, and then sometimes there was a $4,000 jump. It always changed.
That's great. Were you have you been full time this whole time, or did you have another job, or like what does that look like?
So I started in college, which was neat because a lot of my clientele was still in the Virginia area, like Northern Virginia, where I grew up. I was in Central Virginia for school, so it was all local and all small stuff. And then leading into 2020, same thing, 2021, kind of coming out of COVID, that was our crazy year, and that's when we went full time. So I graduated, went full time, did 33 weddings, I believe, planned our own wedding, got married, and moved.
So I asked that question. That's
Yeah.
crazy because you did such big price jumps, which I feel like a lot of people who are full time, like their entire income
Mhm.
depends on photography, like they tend to take a more slow, steady, like less risky approach. Like, how did that feel? Like, was that nerve wracking or were you like confident? Like, what was going on in your mind when you were making like huge price jumps?
Confidence was a really, really key factor back in kind of when I went full time. So that 2020 to 2021 booking timeframe, there was a price point where I was, I was in that I would start at like $2,500 and kind of get up to $3,500, $3,600 and started to feel a little uncomfortable. And I learned of someone that for the first time was doing, or I learned for the first time that they were doing the full day service. So like, hey, you know what? We're not going to be like, oh, here's 5 collections. What do you want? Because what am I going to do? I'm going to look and pick and choose value over price and compare, apples to oranges and stuff. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. I like that. I like a wedding day. I like full service. I've always had a heart for service. So I'm like, let's just try this full day thing. And with that, I think I can sell more, right? The more you give someone, the more you can charge. So we started doing that. But my language when it came to like how I would sell myself was not confident at all. So I started that at $4,000. And I knew of one photographer at the time in DC that was charging $4,000. And I was like, this is insane to me. Obviously, coming out of or in college, I was like, great, $4,000.
Yeah.
But I did not have the confidence in that price point. So if they'd reach out with a $2,000 budget, my response to them would be like, hey, we're at $4,000, but it's worth every penny. And then I go into it and using that word but or that variation of it, I just sent myself down the river. Like there was no point in even responding. So I started to see where language was a huge key factor in it. Um, so yes, confidence was key.
So how has your language shifted now that you're feeling more confident?
I think if I can say one more thing to that last thing, just because
Yeah.
it just popped in my mind, I think a lot of people are scared because they want to obviously keep the business they have. When I think it's sometimes more important to like when you are ready, which is typically sooner than you may think. You need to take that next place by storm because I think of like, say you've been watching my work for 10 years and over that 10 years, I've only gone up maybe $2,500 or maybe $4,000 in that time. There's a good chance when it comes time for you to get married, you can still hire me versus oh, okay, I've grown to a point where like I might not be able to be the one to photograph your wedding, but you can still look at my work. And now I've just entered a new range where people are like, great. Does that make sense? To
Yeah.
kind of take by storm. Um,
We use the phrase burn the boat,
there you go.
so that there's no going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Your other question.
Oh, language.
Yes, language. Um, just because I work in a realm where a majority of our weddings, say, are maybe mid 6 figures, some that are getting into that 7-figure range, does not mean I am going to go and have a $400,000 party in my backyard. Different tax brackets.
Right.
But part of that is I have to know how to relate to and talk like I am having a $400,000 party in my backyard.
Mhm.
I need to know what that tenting looks like. One of my examples is a video I did a while ago, back in 2022 or 2023. And I used the words like around that time, I used the words repurpose and save, like doing florals on the ground. I mean, you can have $1 million wedding and still repurpose florals. Like it doesn't hurt, but your goal is not to repurpose the florals. You could just do whatever new.
Yeah.
So I was using a lot of those words and I'm like, oh, great. It got me that idea. Like it got a lot of people that wanted to do that and I was able to photograph it. But I was still kind of keeping in that, like, how are we in that DIY, like money saving area? Which again comes natural to me. I want to save money. A lot of us do. But what in my language that reflects full service, white glove, hands off, you know, some of this vocabulary and terminology that's going to reflect well with people that part of that luxury thing is money talks. But I could come up to you and like, hey, Taylor, I know exactly what you need just by looking and hearing what you're saying and just being around, I already have someone going to get it for you. Like that's luxury. Like your needs are met before they're even vocalized.
Yeah.
So being able to reflect that in my language as well.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's actually something we talk a lot about with our students inside our program, the Luxury
Yeah.
Mastermind, is really walking them through those language shifts and like adopting that mentality and that mindset. And one of the best ways to do that, I mean, so many of us are also in different tax brackets
Yeah.
than our clients. And so maybe we haven't had an experience where we are on the receiving end of services like that. But it's really great. Like, it's a great use of your
Yeah.
time to like go experience, like seek those experiences out. Like yesterday during our talk at Hybrid, I've said this on the podcast before, so I'm not going to say the full story again, but told the story about how when my husband took my middle daughter to the YSL store at the mall to get me a bag for Christmas. And that shopping experience like blew my daughter's mind compared to shopping somewhere else, like at Target, which is normally where we would shop.
Yeah.
And then also like, so we were at Engage in December in Santa Barbara, and even just like picking up on phrases that staff at luxury resorts are using. So like for example, like they referred to anyone who was at the resort outside of like our conference as like leisure guests. Like I'd never heard like the
Yeah.
term leisure guest before. And I'm like, you just kind of like develop an ear for it and you can start incorporating those phrases into your vocabulary. And then you seamlessly fit into your clientele's world because you're like infusing yourself with the phrases they're hearing elsewhere.
I think that is like right on point because
Yeah.
you need to immerse yourself in those experiences in those areas to like surround yourself with those people you want to grow with and be in the industry there. And I'm not saying that means you have to go out and drive, $150,000 car or you have to go buy yourself a Gucci purse. Like sometimes those things can help because you want to be presentable to the clientele you want to relate to.
But anyone can walk in the store.
That's what I'm saying, exactly.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot more behind it. Like, I was given a Louis wallet years ago, and I still love it. I still have it. I would not have gone and bought it for myself at the time. It was a gift from my cousin, and I still use it, and I still rock it, and I'm like, "You know what? And I'm not saying it's flashy, I'm not saying it's simple, it's old, it's starting to wear out a little bit, but I'm like, I'm glad to have this piece, so I have one designer piece. This was this suede jacket was my splurge, a couple months ago that I just spilled food on and swear I ruined. But, like, this I wanna be able to be presentable one way or another and immerse myself with that vocabulary and I don't know, different things.
Yeah, immerse yourself. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like we tell our students a lot of the times, like go seek out an experience. Go sit at the bar at like a really nice restaurant and just like order a drink. Like that, I mean, it costs you 30 or $40. You know what I mean? But you don't have to commit to the whole $400 meal, but you can still have the experience in like a bite-sized way.
I think because I heard that I heard a lot of people, and I try to do this when I can. I try to fly first class when I can. I'm not always going to go buy that ticket. One reason I love Delta, I have the status, so oftentimes I do get that upgrade. And there's no work that's related from it, but I've had some conversations in first class of like, oh wow, okay, I'm sitting next to someone that does have power, or it does, So there's kind of that experience of like sometimes it's worth getting that first class ticket to relate to that. But if I can give my example from last night, I'm good friends with Chris Jesperson here, working together a good bit coming up. He's an amazing videographer with Storybox Cinema, and we've just gotten closer over the past few months. So I went out to go eat with him last night, and we were kind of figuring out who else might be free. And as we're about to walk into a restaurant, I didn't know this, but Chris was texting Eric McVeigh. And so next thing they're like, "Oh, come eat with us." And he's like, "I'm with Mike." And he goes, "Cool, bring it, bring him." So next thing I know, I was at Church and Union last night for about 3 hours with Chris, Eric McVeigh, Lauren Fair, Sam Blake, the Good Light presets, Austin and Cody, and Perry was there. And I'm just like, I'm surrounded by these people I have admired for years, and I did not know I would be here, but yet I get to be here. And you know,
Yeah.
it was a crazy experience because I immersed myself with a few of these people and getting to know them here. So
Yeah, until it
break that,
becomes the norm.
yeah, break that boundary.
I love that so much. Micah, this is amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
last thing before we close
Oh,
out.
let's go a few more hours.
We got 3 left. Okay. If there's a wedding photographer out there who is inspired by your story, like they're like, I want that kind of growth for myself. Maybe they want to use TikTok as their marketing strategy.
Mhm.
What would be your like maybe like bullet point list of tips for them to get started?
One of the ones we heard was it's not too late. Well, it's not too late to get started, but it's also there's a good chance you're ready. Like when I started my journey with social media, which obviously was a huge progression to where we are today, I was making wedding humor videos and photography education videos. Two things that were great for going a little viral and bringing in content, but wedding humor, slippery slope. I make fun of the wrong person. You say something too opinionated. Next thing you know, you're out cancel culture door.
Yeah.
Photography education, I'm just not making necessarily the right connections there. Great photographers, obviously. So with that being said, start making content because that really changed and altered things. But when I started, I was literally in college and the only people that followed me were my good friends and my family. Like, how embarrassing of a time. If I can do that and being as embarrassed then, you can do it now. And you don't have to be 27. You don't have to be younger or older. Like, it's not about your personality and it's not about your age. I think video marketing and like TikTok is going to be key. And if that's not something you're looking to do, then immerse yourself again in situations like this. Don't just sit down with your friend, say, great, we're going to go grab coffee later, but let's take this time to go meet that person I've admired for a while. Like, you don't know when you're going to meet the sweetest person that in 2 weeks is actually going to say, hey, I have a last minute opportunity. Can you come help me? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be my takeaway.
Yeah, just get outside your comfort zone and like seek out those relationships. Like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So make sure your circle is filled with people that you want to emulate.
Yeah. And I think when I did my coaching with Kelley, I think it was I think it was a good time to do it. But I also then look back and I was like, wow, I wish I had done maybe some other forms of education earlier on.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying specifically education, but some mentorships and how is there someone that can lead you and walk with you for an extended period of time. So I wish I had done that a little bit sooner too.
Yeah, so good, Micah. Well, if somebody is not yet following you on social, wants to check you out, where can they find you?
You can find me at Micah Cook Photos on Instagram and TikTok. We can break that 50,000 follower mark on TikTok, hopefully. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.